cave and everything it contained. We both know it won't take long for Gotham's criminals to realize the Batman is gone. And you can't count on the GCPD. Haven't trusted us since Jim died. Gotham will need its protectors more than ever. I'm leaving you the Belfry as base of operations. Some of the technology is outdated, but it has the gear you need and all of my files. You've always had my back when I needed you. I know you'll keep Gotham safe. Good luck. And goodbye.
No one talks about them. Not a whisper word is said. For if you try to cross them, then the town strikes you dead.
Of that's because of how much stuff we actually shot of Gar in the Titan's tower just being Gar.
Damaris, we got a couple tastes of you at the end of last season, but now you're coming in full-fledged. But I'm not completely sold on her being all evil.
It's funny you say that because the villain, you know, I think the villain is generally always my favorite character in a lot of movies because there's a reason why that they're a villain. And I'm excited to see especially what gets cooked up for our duality, I would say, especially like with Corey being of the same, I guess, blood or whatever we have on our planet, and but with different ability. So I think it's going to be really interesting seeing what happens.
I'm coming for you.
Good.
Will Blackfire meet the rest of her friends? Because I need to know what she thinks of this group.
Oh yeah, she's gonna have a room in Wayne Manor. Get ready. It's gonna.
No, wait, seriously?
It's gonna mix things up. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this.
This season, we're gonna bring up a new villain. And it's a villain. You know, if you've watched the show, you know that Jason Todd's had a rough run, and he had a falling out with the Titans, and it didn't end well. And even the Titans, as they kind of reunited as a team, were absent one member at the end who rode away on a motorcycle and had a fallout. And you know, there's that African proverb, if something along the lines, you know, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And that child comes back in the form of Red Hood.
Wow.
Wow. All right, Karen, how do you feel about that?
All right.
Yeah, I'm very excited, obviously. And I feel some pressure, but I'm ready to take it on 100%. So and I'm very excited. I've been wanting this for a while now. So,
you know, the big change is our team goes to Gotham, and there's a whole new set of challenges that lie and wait for us in Gotham.
Gotham is filled with iconic characters. Who can you tell us that we might meet along the way?
Oh, well, you know, we've got a big one coming up in Dr. Jonathan Crane, also known as Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And we have another, you know, classic character in the canon named Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Barbara Gordon. We've got two, you know, of the second gen coming up. There was originally Batman and Jim Gordon, and now we have Nightwing and Barbara Gordon trying to kind of deal with the mistakes of their parents, and it turns out a lot more difficult than anybody thought.
Cannot wait to see what comes up in season 3. I want to thank you all and congratulations on an awesome run so far. Thank you
so much.
Over to you, Jaden.
Thank you, Gabby. It's another minute to wet your whistle. So let's dive into Aquaman with James Wan and King Ohm himself, Patrick Wilson, here to chat about some of their best memories from set.
Well, hello there, Patrick Wilson.
Hello, is that James? That is James Wan. How are you, dude? You look good.
Okay. Do I look like I'm on this Starship Enterprise?
Yeah. Wait, should I get a fancy chair? You look ridiculous.
No, you're good. Aquaman is, what is that, Patrick? Is that the 5th film that we've collaborated together? Well, yeah, Insidious 1 and 2, Conjuring 1 and 2, and yeah, it is the 5th one. Seems like. So let me ask you, Patrick, how did you first heard about this particular project, Aquaman?
I believe we were on the set of Conjuring 2.
Yes.
And you said that you had, I don't think you weren't really signed on yet, but you knew you were going to do this project, right?
Right.
And I think you kind of floated it out there about Ocean Master, right? Or maybe it was through a text, and then we spoke the next day or something. Let me ask you, when did you think that I would be right for Aquaman?
The moment I decided I was going to do it.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
very
awesome.
early on. I'm like, you know, we know that Momoa was already on board, and I felt like the only other guy that could go up against Jason that, you know, at least to the level that I need him to step up to was yourself. So I floated the idea with Warner Brothers, with DC, and they could.
They're like, no.
But wait, no, they were very supportive from day one. So from the get-go, knowing who was going to play Aquaman and kind of knowing Jason a bit more and, you know, getting to know his personality, I felt that you know, that part of the reason why I wanted to come to you was the fact that, you know, you guys are kind of different in a lot of ways. And I don't mean physically. And so I felt that going into it, that it was the right thing to do, getting someone that was a little bit different to who he is. So that way it helps to add to the idea that, you know, Arthur Curry is an outsider to the wall of Atlantis, that Orm has kind of shaped it in his sort of, you know, in his look, with his sort of mentality, and kind of and vice versa as well. How Atlantis has shaped, Aurum in a lot of ways. And so, definitely, like in the same way I would write Arthur Curry to Jason Strength, I tried to write, Aurum / Ocean Master to Patrick Wilson. Patrick, let me ask you, speaking of comfortable, how comfortable was it to physically embody Ocean Master?
As soon as you look at Ocean Master in the comics, I mean, he's just jacked. I knew that I wanted to push myself because I'd never done that. What we didn't know, and this will be interesting next time going through, is what the elephant in the room of being in a harness. Like, unless you're in a harness, you can't practice for that. Just doing that, being inverted, and then holding yourself in like that plank, and then trying to act like it's nothing and it's totally fine. I'll be, just doing more sort of core exercises to get ready for that. So if I get out of jail and if I can swim. If they're swimming. Is there swimming?
If they're swimming, yeah.
I'm curious to know what changed, right? That's sort of part 2 of the question, is what will be different about what you expected from shooting in these harnesses to what it actually ended up being. But could you visualize what these harnesses and what they would do and how they would help you?
Nothing in the underwater world was easy. One of my favorite, and it was a very simple sort of device that we sort of discovered that we use on Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
Was that we realized that we didn't actually have to hang him on any wire. No. We literally just create a what do you call it, like a seesaw, like
a teeter-totter.
Teeter-totter, right?
Yes.
That he would actually just stand on, and then we've a couple of stunt guys to the side. We just sort of jack him up, and we'll do it in such a way that it looks fluid. So it looks like he's just sort of floating in space. Yeah, and it actually worked out really well. And
it was Dolph Lundgren on a teeter-totter, which is, I mean, how do you beat that?
So believe me, I've learned a lot, and I know what to do in the next one. How did it help you, Patrick? Would you say? Would you say the virtual sort of filmmaking process allow you, ways to do things?
Well, I mean, seeing the previs was super important because you want to know, as you're sitting on top of a weird, like, blue oil drum, like, what am I writing? And you show a picture of a tylosaur,
You're referring to the tylosaur that's swimming up to you, that you then jump onto it to ride it out of the scene.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Then it was different than what I expected. I loved the weirdness of it. I did. I loved being in this weird space where there's really nothing. It felt like a black box theater where there is nothing, and you just have to make up everything. That's why we get into this business in the first place.
Right.
And so I'm totally... it makes you concentrate on those relationships. Me and Willem are like, okay, what do you want from this scene? What do I want from this scene?
That's so cool.
Do you find yourself more attracted to work that's like, whoa, this is going to be big and flashy? Or it's like, you know what? I want to be even in this genre, as real, as convincing as possible.
One of the things I love the most about making this movie is sharing this character that's never been done before, and this world that's never been done before, and seeing the the big screen depiction of this character and treat them to a visual world that they're not familiar with. It's just so cool to just sort of watch them watch the movie in sort of wide-eyed awe, and we're very thankful for how well the film was received by all the fans out there. And I'm excited to continue the journeys of our heroes and anti-heroes, for that matter, and and to continue to expand on the world, with number 2, and ultimately trying to find new things to do that I didn't get around to doing in the first film. That's what I'm always trying to do, find something fresh. And I think the second one is a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more serious, a little bit more relevant in the world that we're living in today. And I think that's kind of where it wants to go. What are you looking forward to, Patrick, about number 2? What would you be excited to see or would like to see?
I'm excited for some new worlds, hopefully. I'm just throwing that out there because I know you love world building. And and I'd like to see some of that. I'd like to see where else we can go, because I know you're going to push that ocean. There's a lot of unexplored ocean out there anyway. We only know 5% of the ocean. It's people. So
That is true. That is true.
Clearly.
And I can definitely guarantee you new worlds in this next one. And and I think you're going to be very excited with what, you as an actor, what you're going to play with Orm.
Am I handcuffed the entire time? It's made of seaweed, right? I can just eat my way through it.
Because we're talking about Aquaman, I feel compelled to remind you to hydrate. So, drink more water, or whatever it is you have in the cooler. We have so much more excitement to come. Get ready for a fan Q&A unlike you have ever seen before. That's right, it's animated Harley Quinn. Here is our delightfully deranged anti-hero wing calling it like she sees it.
Hey everyone, what's up? Harley Quinn here, ready to answer some questions from social media. Ready? What would you say is the hardest part of starting your own criminal empire? Probably deciding where to go for lunch. Everybody just sits around just like tossing out ideas. Someone says Chipotle and everybody's like, ugh, we had Chipotle like 3 days ago. And then someone says a place that gets everyone excited. And then we call and find out they don't deliver. And then someone says Chipotle again. It's just such a pain in the ass. Next question. Will the series have a third season? Please say yes to me. I need it. I love Harley and the show. I mean, I hope so. It's probably up to some dickhead executive that has a personal trainer who says the word core a lot. In which case, hi, Mr. Executive. Did you know the show is super cheap to make and I play well internationally because I'm hyper violent? Okay, next question. Which TV show would Harley probably love? Well, Robert Espinoza. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do love the many offerings available on HBO Max. Between the beloved classic TV series offered and the massive Warner Brothers film library, it's crazy not to subscribe. Next question is from Adrian. Do you have any advice on how to get a girlfriend? Oh, Adrian, have you tried jerking off? It's not as good as a girlfriend, but people seem to love it. Next question is from Brant with a D. You spell your name Brant with a D? It's really f***ing lame. Okay. Harley, out of Batman's many Robins, which one is your favorite? I guess Red Robin. Takes balls to name yourself after a national chain of burger restaurants. I mean, I like burgers, so let's just go with him. Look, it's not science. Next question. From Sharjeel Mogul. Marry, kill. Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. Oh, Wonder Woman. Kill the two dudes after I torture the shit out of them and make them fight each other until they're referencing their mothers. Marry Ivy. What? This is my fucking Q&A, okay? I don't have to play by the rules. Last? No, not last. Another question from Keegan Sandlin. Would you ever consider opening up a tattoo parlor? The tattoo parlor idea is interesting if I ever wanted to go legit. Or a tattoo removal clinic. My ex had some pretty regrettable tats he paid a lot of money to have lased off. You know what I'm talking about. All right, we got another question from Gaz. No, I'm f***ing serious. That's this person's name. Question. What music would Harley have on a playlist to listen to while fighting a load of goons in a circus funhouse? Usually when I'm in these melee situations, the voices in my head are singing an a cappella version of the theme song to Seinfeld. I stopped putting in my earbuds during these situations because Ivy would always turn Spotify on at home, and while I'm exploding some goon's head, the Indigo Girls, Galileo comes on. It's just really f***s the mood straight to hell. Okay, next question from Mr. Jim Lee.
Hey Harley, what's it like working with the Batman? I'm a really big Batman fan myself, and I don't think people talk about him enough.
Batman is a pain in my ass, okay? He is a total diva, especially for being like, hello, 18th on the call sheet, plus his day rate is astronomical, and if you ever say anything about it, he's all, I keep the lights on at Warner Brothers, which is a bullshit, because we all know that's still Friends and Big Bang Theory. Did that answer your question? All right, last but not least, we got a question from Ruchi Bhatia. Advice to all the girls on how to be more confident and badass like Harley. First thing you do is take all the and throw them out the window. You don't want those weighing down your confidence. Who gives a what others think of you? Okay, nerds, I've had a ball, but guess what? I gotta go. Bye!
Whoa, Harley, language. I guess we should expect her to keep the censors on their toes, right? Now, let's welcome these three ladies I'm confident who will keep it clean and classy. With the upcoming release of Wonder Woman 1984, they and we have reason to celebrate. I'll let these wonderful women do the honors. Patty, Gal, Linda, it's all you.
Hi, everybody. Well, there's one more exciting detail that we're so thrilled to be here to talk about, which is it turns out next year is Wonder Woman's 80th anniversary. 80th anniversary, if you can believe that. She's been changing the world for 80 years. So there's two people who you cannot have this celebration without. Our current Wonder Woman, the one and only Gal Gadot, the best, and the legend, the inspiration, and the reason that we're all here, the person who brought Wonder Woman alive in our hearts and minds and set the world on fire, Linda Carter. Yay! And to be with you guys, what a special moment. 80 years, isn't that amazing?
Unbelievable, amazing. And it's crazy to think that only, three years ago, the first feature Wonder Woman was released. It's insane.
Crazy. It's crazy that it would take so long.
I know
because...
why. Find the right one. Yeah.
I was going to say it's because
I had a very big shoes to fill.
Linda's very hard to replace and to be the new Wonder Woman, but there couldn't be two. It's funny how there couldn't be two more real Wonder Women in the world to play that role, and it's unbelievably unusual for both of you to be so magical playing this role. So I'm so happy to be here with you because this character has meant so much to me since the first day I ever heard about her. And like you guys have brought it to life for so many. And I'm so excited. Like next year, there's going to be a whole slew of things that DC Comics is doing and that Warner Brothers is doing to celebrate Wonder Woman's 80th anniversary.
Yeah, Wonder Woman inspires us, and our collective love for this character has endured for 80 years.
You know, Gal and Patty, we are so excited. You know, she has endured. She has endured for 80 years, and there's a reason. You have given her a new life, you and Patty. And when we put her during my era on television, she resounded, and there's a reason she resounds. And we are about to give you a first look at the official Wonder Woman 80th anniversary logo. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen it yet, but I can't wait to check it out.
Right? That's it.
Happy birthday, Wonder Woman. You don't look a day over 29. Also, there's a few more 80th birthdays to celebrate this year, including Joker, Flash, and Catwoman, to name a few. Happy birthday. Here's to another 80. Now, over to you, Gino.
Hello, my fellow DC fans. My name is Gino Killiamore. I'm from the Philippines. Now, I'm not just one of your global hosts for today. I'm actually also a mega DC fan 365 days a year. So I just really wanted to take this time to say thank you to Warner Brothers and of course to DC for creating DC Fandome. It gave us something to look forward to this entire year, and now we're finally here. Now, one of the creative geniuses behind this incredibly cool experience that brings us together today is he's kind of on my high of all-time cool people, but he's also on the list of really cool people in entertainment because he makes it his mission to include Asian talent from around the globe in the DC community of artists, writers, and a whole lot more. And just a little bit of trivia, everything that you see around you was actually created by him as well. So I can actually say it, I'm standing on a Jim Lee creation. Now, Jim Lee, as you know, is a world-renowned comic artist, as well as a writer, editor, and the chief creative officer and the publisher of DC. And everything that you see around me, once again, is a Jim Lee creation. Now, let's drop in on a conversation that he's having with the founder of Gold House. Now, Gold House, if you don't know what that is, well, you're about to find out.
Hi, I'm Bing Chen. I'm part of Gold House. We're the largest collective of top Asian cultural leaders in the country, dedicated to ensuring the accurate representation and success of both the Asian as well as multicultural communities. It is such a spoiling treat to be able to interview one of the foremost Asian godfathers, as well as godfathers of comic books, storytelling, and art around the world. And that is, of course, the mighty Jim Lee. Jim, thank you so much for letting us speak with you today.
Hey, good to see you again, Bing.
Likewise, sir. I'll get right to it because I know how busy you are with the incredible DC fandom that you helped engineer. And this will sound sycophantic, but you really are a legend. I mean, you've literally invented superheroes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you still have the Guinness World Record for the best-selling comic book of all time.
Yeah, and it's like 8 million copies of a comic book I did decades ago. But yeah, it's still standing today. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm curious, given you've seen so much because you've built so much, what's different about superheroes today from when you first started?
So much is different. I mean, I've been in the business for over 3 decades now. So I've seen quite an evolution, not just in terms of the type of storytelling, but the creative community, the people that tell the stories. Our fan base is much more balanced out than it used to be. Back when I started, it was probably about 90% male, 10% female. The pantheon of characters, predominantly white, living or operating out of New York City or cities like Gotham, Metropolis. And what you're seeing today is that we are in a global business. I mean, you know, through the power of media, film, TV, games, our content, our characters are global. You know, we have fans all over the world now. Like on my Instagram following, in the third biggest country of followers is Brazil. And you know,
amazing.
We publish in Brazil, but not like a ton of content. And that just like shows, it speaks to their passion, their love for our characters. They know our mythology inside and out. So you just start realizing that it's not just about North America or our core publishing business. It's everyone around the world. That's the potential market and the reach. And so it's really exciting to have seen the evolution of this business move from something that was really kind of small and insular to something that really has kind of taken over pop culture, really. Everyone on the streets wearing the t-shirts. Back then, if you wore the t-shirt, you might get beat up. You know, exactly. But now today, it's like, it's a badge of your fandom, right? It's like what you love, and it's no big deal. In fact, it's kind of cool, which is amazing. I feel like we live in an alternate reality sometimes.
I mean, it's so easy to say in hindsight because you've done it, but you know, you mentioned diversity in race and gender and geography and so forth, and the DC multiverse is certainly known widely for so many of these firsts. I mean, you have this insanely interwoven multiverse on the CW. You're the first studio to win Best Actor at the Oscars for a superhero and Joker, or really a villain, I should say, a super villain. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I hate to ask it this way, but how do you decide which of these risks to take, given you were the first and are the first in so many? And what can we expect to see next from the DC multiverse?
You know, I don't think we view it as a risk. I don't think there's a fear. I mean, I think there was probably an old school thinking, like, for example, like a female lead can't carry a movie, right? A lot of these sort of old school ideas of what worked or what the audience wanted or didn't want. And in many ways, it's been transformed, by the fact that it's become more global, that the audience has changed. And I think also data, right? Data is really interesting now because we actually have now direct consumer insights as to what they want and what they're looking for. And what they're looking for is representation. They're looking for content that reflects the world they live in. They want to see themselves represented on the screen in the pages of the comic books. And that is something that I'll just speak to my own fandom. You know, I've been around for a long time. That's not even an expectation I had as a kid, right? You just wanted to see something that entertained you. And now there's a lot more fan engagement. There's a more direct connection between the content makers and the audience themselves. And you see that manifested in so many different ways, sometimes negatively, but predominantly, I think it's really healthy and interesting, and it's transforming the business. So it's not about taking risks. It's about feeding the appetite, the desires of so many people want to see characters. And now you're seeing people want, can you make a deaf character? Can you make a character from my home country? How do you tell these stories authentically? And that means working with new voices, new talent from around the world. So to me, it's not about risk, it's about opportunity. And so it's really a golden era for content makers, and definitely the world that we live in. We need to create more diverse characters. We need to create more inclusivity in our line. And I've seen that gradually change, but it's really accelerated in the past probably 5 to 10 years. And the demand is even more than ever before. And so I think it's a real responsibility on our shoulders to address this concern, to address this appetite. And it's an exciting time to be a comic book creator.
Something I really admire about DC is how you remember the diversity is not just one-dimensional. It's not just a matter of race or gender or geography, but all the above. I mean, you also had the first transgender superhero on Supergirl with Nicole Maines, of course, right?
Yeah,
and so it's really everyone being present. So much of this diversity, of course, begins on the page. Comics are not just some frivolous, fantastic world that we don't identify with. They're a new mythology. And I've often thought about this of how, we look to Grecian mythology and so forth, but it's been a while outside of comic books since we've had a real mythos that we could believe in and show us what we can do better. How do you think about taking a comic book and making it canon? Like, how does it become a real mythos for people? Because you've done this through characters.
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting process. When you get into comics, you're a fan, and you don't think necessarily about the underpinnings, the concepts, and the themes that are kind of that are connecting you to the material, right? You're just reading the story and you think it's entertainment. But a lot of times these stories are driven by, characters that are underdogs, characters that have horrible, tragic things happen to them, like Batman. They have to overcome all odds and strive to be the best, to overcome their own personal demons. And to me, that's something that connects all of us, right? It's a universal thing, this need to overcome adversity. And how do we face adversity? And how do we turn adversity into something that's positive in our lives? So in my mind, it's more than just entertainment. And that's what keeps this stuff compelling. It keeps it around for 80 years. We've been publishing stories for 85 years. Batman's been around for 81 years. And we're excited to introduce the next version of Batman that speaks to a whole new audience that will last another 80 years. So this is our mission. And this is something that we don't take lightly. And at the same time, it's a lot of fun to do at the same time, right? So it's a really, really cool way to kind of be creative, share stories about, coming of age, of dealing with personal responsibility, introducing young people to these themes, and then seeing these ideas kind of become cool video games or TV shows or movies. I mean, it's icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, the DC multiverse, as you just alluded to, you've got publishing, you've got games, you've got collectibles, you've got TV, you've got film, and everyone and their mother across Hollywood wants that next great franchise like the multiverse that you've built. What can you tease about how you think about the evolution of the DC multiverse? We know it's inclusive, but what are the other things you can tease of its evolution?
I think we're in early days of it. I mean, the multiverse is something that DC popularized. If you think about fiction in general, DC did it first back in 1961. Kind of introduced this idea that there are alternate versions of everyone and all the superheroes on alternate Earths, and they're all slightly different. And that basically opens up the pantheon, the storytelling, to all sorts of incredible ideas. And now you can explore different themes in different ways. It's really about taking the road not taken and being able to kind of have your cake and eat it too, and just have Earth 3 where all the the Justice League are villains and the only hero is Luthor, and kind of exploring that dynamic. And it's a great foil to the core characters and knowing who they are. So it gives our creators tremendous freedom to tell their stories, and also allows us to introduce diversity and inclusivity through the multiverse, right? Earth 23 there's a black Superman, and Calvin Ellis. And so what kind of world does that look like? And how is that different from our Earth with Superman in it, with Clark Kent? And so these are great stories to be able to tell. And it's just really about broadening the experience and giving our creators the amazing tools to tell whatever story they want to.
What's the most exciting set of developments for you in comic books right now?
Right now in publishing, we launched a young adult, young reader program just last April. I mean, we've worked on it for years prior, but this is a huge opportunity for us. It's one of the fastest growing segments in the book audience. And it's a predominantly different audience than who buy, our core comic book line. It's more female, it's definitely younger, and they want to see the heroes reflected in different ways that speak to them, the issues that they're facing, coming of age type stories. We kind of lost sight of the 8 to 10-year-old readers. And now we're actually addressing that and creating content for them again. And that's very exciting for us because you need that young generation to keep feeding sort of this broad spectrum of readers that you have. And so that's been a really exciting initiative for us. Beyond the Young Reader program, we also shared in a previous panel during Fandome that we have acclaimed legendary writer John Ridley coming on board. John Ridley won an Oscar. He is a huge comic book fan, and he's actually going to come on board in 2021 in January and do a 4-part miniseries introducing a new Black Batman. And the question is, who is this Batman? And there's a cool backstory to it, has deep implications and impact on the future of the mythology. It is really an interesting take that's driven by his own personal relationship with his 2 sons. It is a really, really cool story. And we're excited to kind of show that anyone can kind of be Batman. And that's kind of part of the story is like, we know who these heroes are and we know what their core values, what they stand for. And if you think about it that way, we can all identify with it. And I think as we drive forward with this mythology, I think we have to look beyond just what has been established and look to other ways of really kind of updating and contemporizing the mythology. And that really is kind of our core mission, is like looking at these assets, and they've been around for a long time. They've been around for 85 years. Well, publishing for 85 years, Batman 81 years. How do we keep this interesting and fresh? And this is the kind of creative work that I love being involved in, and having someone like John who has the creative chops to be able to pull off a story that's really meaningful and is going to impact the rest of the DC universe is something that is going to be huge for us next year.
Yeah, I mean, serious kudos to y'all, though, because as you know, it's a reflection of our times of how do you hold on to some forms of legacy, but how do you be brave and smart and forward-looking enough to reflect today as well? And it's sometimes harder than it seems to balance the two. So, no, I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Last question is cheesy, but we have to ask for those who don't know, who across the pantheon of your multiverse are your favorite superhero and why?
Yeah, when I was a kid growing up, I liked the real oddball characters just because they're so unusual. And certainly when I was like 8 or 10, it's just more whimsical, and it just appeals to, like, you know, if you ever interact with young kids, the things they find funny or interesting are very different than like a teenager or adult, right? And so there's a character called Matter Eater Lad, which I always kind of, you know, he was a substitute. He wasn't even a full superhero. He was a substitute member of the Legion of Superheroes. Occasionally he'd kind of cross over, but his power, as you could tell from, he could eat anything. Matter Eater Lad, that was his power. He came from a planet called Bismol, and his way out of any problem was to eat it, right? If he's in jail, he starts eating the bars. There's a nuclear bomb that's going to go off. He starts eating the components of the bomb. And then, you know, just a kid, it's just like, it's ludicrous but funny, and I think it just shows you that anything can be a power if you tell really cool stories. And so that's one of my more favorite characters from my childhood. And I always like kind of sharing his story because he's not very well known, and someday maybe he'll be on the big screen. And let me tell you, that is really a skill set in and of itself. You know, you look at James Gunn, and he's doing Suicide Squad. He went deep into the DC catalog of characters, and he pulled out some tertiary, and I don't even know what's beyond, like, below tertiary. He took some
quaternary,
deep cuts into the DC catalog and pulled out these obscure characters with pretty random powers, but he made them really compelling by giving them cool backstories, cool character arcs. And I think people are going to go like, wow, that's amazing. Who is this character? And that's the beauty of it. It's all in the execution. So if you think about it, everyone has their favorite character, and they can all be elevated to, you know, movie star, you know, level, love if given the appropriate attention and the right story.
Right. And especially with their platform. I was also going to say thank you for sharing your superhero with us. I wish the wonderful people of LA could be on that diet and make everything, just eat everything and make it demolished. But
and then that's the thing. He never like, he doesn't gain weight. He's not skinny. He's able to consume anything. I don't know where it goes. And, you know, that's an interesting story. What is in his digestive system that allows him to exactly, a lot of fiber. I don't know.
Those are some dirty words for this city. Well, Jim, thank you so much for spending time with us, and congratulations on today and all the insane announcements. Again, like as a nephew, as a fan, it's just such a treat. So thanks so much again for spending the time.
All right. Thank you, Big. That was a tremendous pleasure. Thank you.
This was an amazing, very cool, unique experience. I actually worked off of a lot of the creativity of other people within DC and Warner Brothers who basically came up with the overall map for DC Fandome, right? The center Hall of Heroes island and then the 5 different islands that kind of float around it. I saw that there were 3 statues of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and then this giant kind of auditorium behind it. So first I sat down and I drew the Trinity. For the overall Hall of Heroes space, I was really inspired by the Justice League Watchtower, the satellite that the Justice League operate out of. It looks futuristic, but also very organic. So that kind of inspired in my head, what if we made this real? What if we made it a 3D model asset? And then we could kind of rotate the camera around and enter through the windows and do all sorts of crazy things. We started with the concept designs done in pencil, to inks, and then to color. Alex Sinclair, who's my trusted colorist, gave it a really cool silver and gold palette. When we started seeing the initial 3D assets come over, I was completely blown away. The actual floor of the hall is like one giant canvas. It was really flattering and really cool to see the art blown up in this gigantic scale behind the host. We knew that we wanted to have a space that was not confined by our imagination. We wanted to run amok with these crazy ideas, point to walls and spaces and things which sort of materialize and appear out of nowhere and give us the ability to throw to different hosts or to different scenes or different panels at a whim. To make every element within this space active and alive. We were able to literally beam in hosts from all around the world. And we could place them in this virtual space. We could customize every facet of the production and put the art anywhere and everywhere we wanted it to be. And that's really kind of the fun of what you do as a comic book artist. You're creating an immersive world on a 2D piece of paper. This time it was kind of brought to life in really a unique, one-of-a-kind virtual space where anything and everything is possible.
It's time to go back to you guys, the fans, for more questions. Now, this fan might look familiar to some of you guys.
Hey, it's Jake from State Farm here. The Amazons really inspired me, so I just decided to train myself to be a warrior. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, well, you definitely need strength and drive and discipline and coordination, kindness and courage. That's a starting list.
Oh, check. Yeah. And if I want to try to compete in the Amazon games, just checking, it's still all Amazons on the Mascara, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen for you. But keep up with the training. You never know.
Okay. Maybe I could just like be there to give a helping hand, or some water, maybe a towel, throw a sword, if they drop it, maybe? Okay. Alright then, cool.
I'm so excited to share with you guys 24 hours of unprecedented geekdom with everybody here today, and to introduce, of course, the DC Fandome Shazam panel. Now, the 2019 movie was not only groundbreaking as a superhero movie with something for everyone of every age, but it was everything you and I wanted from Shazam and the Shazam. Now, the star of this movie may be just as big a kid